Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Genesis chapter 44, verses 10 through 17. The servant, the steward of Joseph's house, has now overcome the brothers. He's overtaken them, and he said, "Hey, you guys stole. One of you stole the silver cup. Why did you do this? We were nice to you, but why did you steal it?" And the brother's like, "No, we didn't do it. Far be from us to do that. In fact, last time we found money in our sacks, we brought it back to you. So no, we didn't do this. In fact, whoever it is that you find with this supposed silver cup, if you find it, that person should be killed, and then the rest of us will be your servants." Very rash oath that the brothers are making, and because actually we know the brothers don't. We know the silver cup is actually in Benjamin's sack. So let's see what happens. Verse 10, he said, that is the steward, the servant of Joseph's house, Joseph's assistant. He said, "Let it be as you say." But he recognizes that their oath is actually rash, incorrect. In fact, he already knows it's in Benjamin's sack because Joseph was the one that told him to put it in there. So he knows it's there. He says, "Let it be as you say." And then he brings it down. "He who is found with it shall be my servant, and the rest of you shall be innocent." So wherever the silver cup is, no, we're not going to kill him. He's going to be our servant. The rest of you can go away free. Remember, this is a test. This is Joseph testing his brothers to see if they are truly repentant, if they are really sorry for what they did to him. Remember, Benjamin is Joseph's full-blooded brother. There's only two of them who had Rachel as their mother. And so Joseph is going to be particularly fond of Benjamin and perhaps even wondering if the brothers have not been treating Benjamin the same way that they treated him. Joseph is probably surmising, well, Jacob has probably elevated, my daddy's probably elevated Benjamin as he has elevated me, and I'm worried for my brother. So he's testing his brothers to see if what they were saying is correct. We got a clue about the time when they were in prison, and they were saying, "Well, this is because of what we did." And remember, Joseph heard it, and then he went out and he cried. He wept because he saw that his brothers were changing their mindset and changing their heart. But he's not quite for sure, is this really what is happening? So he's testing them, and he's actually even producing a way for him to save Benjamin, for Benjamin to come into his household if the brothers are angry and have the same attitude toward Benjamin that they had toward Joseph. Because if their attitude toward Benjamin was the same that they had toward Joseph and they really weren't repentant, they would just say, "Yeah, sure, take our younger brother," and then they can dip it in blood and go back to dip his coat in blood and go back to Jacob and say, "Look, some wild beast grabbed him on the way home." So Joseph is actually being quite wise here. Here's a way for him to save his brother from his other brothers if they are not truly repentant in this sinful attitude is still in their hearts. And then if they do show themselves that they have been repentant, then he has found a way for them to pass the test. So let's see what then happens. So then each man quickly lowered his sack to the ground, and each man opened his sack, and he searched it, beginning with the eldest and ending with the youngest. Remember, this man knows that the silver cup is in the last man's bag. He knows it because Joseph told him to put it in there. It's a test. It's a ruse. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes. Every man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. This is a big deal because the man has already told them, "Hey, the one where whoever is found with the silver cup, that is the person that becomes a slave." The brothers could have just went on home to their brother if their attitude toward Benjamin was the same way, was the same attitude that they had toward Joseph. But that's not the response we have. They tore their clothes. And this is indeed an example for us to follow. Not that you need to rip your shirt, not that you need to rip your clothes. No, this was an act of this was an outward act representing what was inside the heart. Great distress. And perhaps they were even so distressed that they actually tore it up. We can't believe this has happened. We can't believe that this is what is happening. We're going to go with him. We have to make sure that we are truly repentant. We are truly sorry for the things that we do wrong. And we need to have our heart rent. Our heart needs to be torn, needs to be pulled. There should be a deep emotion when we sin against the Lord and sin against our family and sin against our coworkers and sin against our neighbors. Our heart should be torn, and then there should be an outward reflection of that tearing, and that outward reflection is a change in behavior, a change in attitude. Let me tell you something, friends, and it's something I have to tell myself all the time. If you continue to do what you are supposedly sorry about, then you are not really sorry and you are not really repentant. If you don't produce barriers, if you don't change the things that you do that leads to the particular sin or the offense against others, if you don't change those things, then you are really not sorry, you are really not repentant, you have not torn your heart. You are just going on as things are normal, and you're just saying, I'm sorry, not because you intend not to do it in the future. You just say, I'm sorry, so that you can go on about your every deed. So they tore their clothes, they tore their hearts. And then we see the outward behavior. Every man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. They did not have to do that. Then we see in verse 14, it's Judah taking the lead. Again, remember, Judah is going to be the preeminent tribe. This is from which King David is born. This is from the tribe from which Jesus is born. And actually, when the Israelites leave Egypt, it is Judah, it's the tribe of Judah that is leading this long procession. If you look in the first few chapters of Numbers, it's a very boring section. It's a list of how the tribes are organized. But if you go there, you will find that it is the tribe of Judah that is leading the Israelites through the wilderness. Judah is becoming preeminent because from that will come King David. From that tribe will ultimately come the Savior of the world. So we again here see in verse 14, Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house. He was still there, and they fell before him to the ground. Joseph said to them, "What deed is this you have done? Do you not know that a man like me can indeed practice divination?" I'm really going to take the point because I just want to be sympathetic toward Joseph, but I'm going to say that this is all a ruse, that he is not really practicing divination with his silver cup. Scholars and smart people take different views on that, but this is his ruse of saying, hey, I am this Egyptian person and I practice divination by this cup, and that would be something that he would be extremely mad about because he's obviously a man of God. I'm sure they've heard of the story that Joseph, it was through Joseph through which they were able to gather all of the grain and everything. So he says, do you not know that I would be a man that would do this? And Judah said, Judah, who again is taking the lead, it's Judah. What shall we say to my Lord? Another nod to the dream, right? The dream where the 11 bundles of grain are bowing before Joseph's bundle of grain. What shall we say to my Lord? What shall we speak? Or how can we clear ourselves? This is not us. And here's what they say. Here's an example for us to follow. And this is so good. This is so good and powerful. This verse right here is this huge Joseph story. This is one of these important moments. This is the transformation of these brothers. The brothers that couldn't even talk to Joseph. They were so jealous of him. Look at how they have changed. They said, how can we clear ourselves? God has found out the guilt of your servants. We deserve this. They don't defend. They don't say we didn't do it. They don't say Benjamin didn't do it. They just say we are guilty. We are guilty. We are guilty. Behold, we are my Lord's servants. All of us right here. We are your servants, both we and he also in whose hand the cup has been found. outward change, behavioral change. They have no idea that this is Joseph, and he is saying, Judah is saying it for all of his brothers. We will be your slave. We will be your servant forever, and we're not going back to our daddy. This is a change of heart. We are guilty. They don't go through defending themselves, and it's such an example for us to follow. Is that we need to always remember that we sin because we are sinners. We are not called sinners because we sin. And so sin is deep within our heart, just waiting for an opportunity to come out. Sin is there, and it doesn't matter the particularities of your sin, what you particularly do. You are a sinner, and they're saying God has found this out. And of course, they're referring back to what they did for Joseph. They said, we deserve this. We deserve this. They're not telling Joseph. They're telling this Egyptian man exactly what's in their mind, but they're saying, we'll be your servants. But here's what Joseph says, verse 17. Gives them another opportunity. I'm sure Joseph is, we already have seen how emotional he is, but I'm sure right here he's starting to be pricked. Oh my goodness, are they really saying this? But he says, far be it from me that I should do so. Only the man in whose hand the cup was found shall be my servant. No, not all of you, just the one. But as for you, go up in peace to your father. You're fine. Just leave Benjamin here. Again, giving them another opportunity. Perhaps the brothers, who are tricksters themselves, they've learned it well from their father, I'm sure, Jacob, who was originally called a trickster, that he said, well, maybe this is just them trying to negotiate their way out, and here's another opportunity for them to peacefully leave Benjamin here, who they perhaps don't like anyway, and go back home to their father. So he says, just Benjamin needs to say, the rest of you can go. And we'll see what Judah will say in the next video. And actually, one more note about Judah. Remember, Judah was the one that suggested to the brothers that they sell Joseph instead of just killing Joseph. And so Judah has changed. And if you remember, we have that whole Genesis chapter 38 of just how Judah had turned away from his brothers and turned away from his God. We have seen a great change here. Judah is even recognizing his God has found out the guilt of his servants. So I'll see you in the next video, and we'll see how this saga comes to an end.